Hello, this is the Emancipate Show, and joining me today, tonight, is Monique, and she's basically here to tell us about real estate and all her ventures and what she's doing moving forward. Oh, I would like to say, please do like, share, and subscribe, and shout outs to Jaden for the shirt, Three Kings. Yeah, he's working on a website, so look out for that. So I'm wearing his shirt in reference, and I'm trying to support a friend.
It's very
Anyway,
nice.
tell us about yourself, Monique.
Okay, so I'm Monique Johnson. I own and I'm the broker for Greater Metro Realty Group here in Mount Vernon. Um, I'm second generation broker, which means that my mother owned real estate before me. So I grew up in the house of her doing real estate. I've been doing it for over 3 decades. That sounds so long, Jesus. So I've been doing it for 33 or 34 years this year. Real estate. I buy and flip houses in cash for myself. Um, and I like to help first time homeowners that are unknowledgeable to their options in life, and also that helps with them building in their wealth. And the last thing I want to say is my background is consulting, so I approach real estate from a consulting and a perspective of trying to instead of just doing sales. m- Several of my clients have more than one property in the course of 3 to 5 years. So that's what I do, amongst other things I do. I stay busy.
Okay, okay. So what made you decided to go on the real estate business?
You know, back in the 70s, late 70s, 80s, I remember we were going to frequently Harlem for whatever reason, our areas in the Bronx. And I remember sitting in the back seat of my parents' car and looking at abandoned buildings and said, "Well, I would want to go in and fix that building and put people in it, and everybody would have to pay me, and I would live on the top floor, and I have a pool on the roof." I had this big imagination. Um, and then I sort of put it to side for reality. And I went to school for nursing. I went to college. I got out. In the midst of going to college, I started doing consulting, and that turned into something else. So even though I got my nursing degree, I went into consulting. And then later on in life, my mother retired as an engineer. Believe it or not, for AT&T, she had been an engineer since the 70s. She started a real estate agency in Mount Vernon, and everything came back to me. So I started, moving around real estate with my mother, just going over there, finding out what's what. Took some course with my brother Marcus, and graduated the course. And it's once I got that first check, that was it. I was doing consulting at the time, and within 6 months, I went and told my job that was it for me. I wanted to do real estate. I like the feeling of real estate. I like the profit margins on real estate. And there's no greater feeling than helping someone find one of their dreams. Food, clothing, and shelter is not a luxury item.
No.
So I'm not into food or that much in clothing in regards to selling it, but I can do real estate. It's a you someone everybody knows somebody that needs real estate. So
A fact. So like in your humble opinion, what do you think this generation is lacking when it comes towards the market and growing up in a home or the like something that you don't own? What will be an advice you'd like to give to them?
well, again, I'll go back to what I just ended in is that real estate is not a luxury item. All right. I see people out here with Louis Vuitton bags. I see them out here with BMW cars.
Yeah.
Before you can buy that BMW and you're signing your name, before you can finish signing your name, it has depreciated in value. So you out here busting your hump. I see people buying, I know people that own Chanel bags. I don't own Chanel. I have some very nice stuff. I don't own Chanel, and they don't own anything. So what I see is that a large part of the generation, in fact, it came out about a year and maybe a half ago, that Generation Z has less than $500 saved but own over $10,000 in sneakers.
That's a fact.
That's
But
a fact. So
but
now the real estate, I'm sorry, the sneaker business has moved from a business of in the millions to in the billions in under 5 years.
yeah,
So
but
what I would say to people, Section 8 has a margin, a median. Right
mhm.
now, Section 8 is paying for a one bedroom $1,940 for one bedroom.
Oh
You
really?
can own a co-op, a two bedroom, own it, where you're getting tax deductions for giving your money away. You see that money again. You can own a two bedroom for less than $1,700.
I'm gonna give you a story.
I love it. Give me a story. Give me a story.
I'll tell
I
you a
want one of those
story.
Three Kings shirts too. That's fire. I keep staring at it.
All right,
Love
I'll
it. Love
I'll
it.
definitely shout out to Jaden for that one. I'm
That's what's
definitely
up.
gonna pass this contact on to you when I'm finished. So I used to drive this girl around, right? And she was, she was doing a little hustle. She was selling her pills and stuff like that. So she was living in the PJs. And every day I pick her up and I drop her off. I pick her up and I drop her off. And she complains about living in the projects. And I said, one day I said to her, I was like, you don't think you want to move out of here someday, maybe start a family and, do your own thing? And she got very offended. And she was like, oh, you fucking Jamaicans, you guys think you're fucking better than people, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, why did I
Whoa.
even try to
Whoa.
like
Whoa.
educate her or something? So she flipped out on me, whatever. But the straw that broke the camel back was when her grandmother lost the project, the apartment. Her grandmother got put in a nursing home, and she's been living in this project for like forever, and she
Hmm.
lost it, and she cried. Now, the way she was crying, you think she lost
She lost a house.
a piece of land or something
Facts.
like that. And
Facts.
I'm like, and I was looking at her like she's weird as shit. And I'm like, this girl ain't trying to move out of this place right here.
No.
But
No.
they pretty much turned the project into yeah, it is section 8 now. The projects is section
Right.
8, whatever.
Right.
But I would love to get a spot up in the project, maybe for like about, I'll say like about 5 years. If I could get a spot up in the projects,
Mm-hmm.
I'll hang out there and I stack my bread, because
But
rest
you know
assured.
what? It's not what it's clocked up to be because they take 30% of your earnings.
Right, right. I don't want my
So
name on.
I know
No, no,
people
no.
that's making 70 grand and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm getting through. I'm like, but you can own a two bedroom for
Yeah,
cheaper than that.
but I don't want my name on the paperwork. That's the thing I don't want.
Oh, you
I
one of
don't,
them dudes.
I don't want my name on the
No.
paperwork. I wanna live there, you know what I'm saying? Stack my bread and give a proceed towards whatever it is. Because I'm just here
Oh,
to
you
just
want to sublet.
right, 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 right. So yeah, but what other things you get into you do as far as real estate?
Okay, so I did mention shortly that I do buy and flip for
Hmm.
myself in cash. So what I do with that particular model is that people are in trouble, they're losing their homes. A lot of times, unfortunately, and it hurts me, is that when the parent, let's say, passes away or gets sick, you have the kids still living in the house. They've
Hmm.
never been done for anything for themselves. They get the house, they take mortgages out on the house, or they don't pay the mortgage. And when 3 to 5 years of the parent passing away, house is in full foreclosure. I like to come in and I try to turn that situation around and say, listen, guys, you got to live somewhere. You got to do something. If it's an all out loss, I'll then encourage them and say, look, I can set, get, because people don't understand when a foreclosure happens, you still owe that money. So the bank and everybody can still come after you for money proceeds that's still owed to them. So what we do is sometimes short sales where we alleviate the need for them to continue to pay for a property that they lost. So you can lose it and still owe 150, $200,000. So come in, we alleviate that cost issue of, basically bank chasing them for the rest of their life. And then we may even give them money with permission of the bank to move on. And then I'll come in, fully renovate the place, beautiful, heated floors, glass walls in some of them. I like to make them a piece of artwork. And then we put it back on the market for a profit. It's what we do. So I do that, but I also need to say I'm a licensed contractor
Right.
for Westchester and New York City. So a lot of times when people come in and they say, "Listen, I only got so much money," I'm like, "Look, let's go look at these properties. Property not in top condition. I can give you a realistic cost as a realtor. What's the value when it's completely finished? So we may be looking at it at 400. It's in a 650 neighborhood. You put in 100, 125, 150, you bring it up to par. That you can actually do that without a lot of money because they started a program called 203Ks. So in that particular model, I said the house was 400, you give the homeowner 400, but then the bank will also give you 100,000 or whatever they already predestined that the house needs work. So you get the mortgage for the complete 500,000. It's one mortgage, no additional tricks. When the sale of the house go through, then they say, well, we have $100,000 left to the side that we're basically going to babysit
Mhm.
so you can finish the house. So now you bought the house for 4, you fixed it for 100, it's 500. By the time you fix the house, which is normally 3 to 6 months, it's worth six and some change. So you can walk into a house with equity. So we
Okay.
do that also. So walking through a home with me, I can let you know what the value, what the best houses in real estate, but also I can tell you how much it'll cost and fix it. I don't make people fix them. They don't absolutely have to fix them with me, but at least they have a guideline for other contractors what they should be paying so that you
Okay.
don't get ripped off.
All right. So let's say I don't know you from a hole in a donut, right? And I'm like, yo,
I like
all right,
that.
all right, I got 50K in the bank, right? I'm trying to get
Hmm.
some flash shit for for me, my wife, and my kids, whatever,
Right,
right?
right.
Like, what's the procedure to do all of that?
Okay,
So
first I
so
want to
so
know
our audience know.
I want to know if you want to buy a co-op, a condo, or a house, right?
What kind of buyer look like a house guy or like if I have 50, what would be like a
Oh, I mean, if you're gonna go up mid to high end co-op condo, then 50 is good. If you're looking at a house, the bank has the government has set up something called 3.5% down. It's a FHA, and that's
loan?
the lowest you can go. FHA is it's a federal housing administration back loan. So if you default on a loan, the government said we will support this person. So the bank says there's a low risk.
Do we have any grants? If is there any grants in that? Is there any grants for like first time buyers?
Yeah, there are some. I would have to check into them. I haven't seen anything really recent with this whole pandemic thing. There had been some, but you need your what I'm gonna call your at least your down payment or your quote unquote seed money to
Hmm.
hold a contract. That 3.5% down because the down payment is the least of your problems. 3.5% on 500,000 is like 6,500. That's car money. You know what I mean? But
Right.
then the other part of it is your closing costs, the transfer costs, the title searches. That can be 6 to 6.5%. So on, let's say a $50,000 purchase, you're gonna need. I'm sorry, on a $500,000 purchase, you're gonna need 3.5% down,
How much is
and
that?
on 500,000 is about 16,000 dollars.
Okay, that's a
But then
good
you have
50.
what's called closing costs.
Right.
Now closing costs is representative of the taxes because the bank makes you pay the entire tax for the house for a year.
As
there's
always.
there's transfer tax, there is a title
Hmm.
cost, deed for you to actually put your deed and say I own this with the state or the county you live in. So that's closing costs. Those are
Right.
normally 6%. So hypothetically, on 500, it's 30,000 for the closing costs.
Oh my
Whereas,
God.
yeah, and a lot of people don't know that the down payment is only 16,500 using the $500,000 model and the 3.5% down and the 6% down. So that's for a one or two family. If you go to three families, that number changes, the down payment changes. And let me
Oh,
add, one of the best things, and I live in a two family. I started off with a co op because it was affordable. I was single, and it did what I needed to do because I got into co op relatively cheap. And then I waited 3 to 5 years, sold a co op, used that seed money to get in my first multifamily house.
wait, what the credit score got to look like? Because actually, I did a video on credit with this guy. I don't remember his name at this time, but shout outs to him. What the credit score got to look like with that 50K? Like
Okay, 50K. And this is the thing, buying a co op is more difficult
than a
to
house?
buy. They require 10 to 20% down on a co op. Co-op, let's say it's 150, 200. So now they want 10 to 20%. 10% of 200 is 20,000. 20%, you're talking about 40,000, almost as if you're buying a house where the house is only 3.5% down. With the co-op, you have to go through another tier. It's not just good enough you get the bank approve you. You have to sit down and be interviewed
By a
by
board.
people that living in the board. The board can set up. I want your credit to be 700. I want you 20% down. I want my your credit to be 750. So they set it. When you get cleared from a house, you don't have to go through any more nonsense. The house is one and done. So I've seen people buy a co-op and spend just as much money on a $225,000 co-op that had a 20% down as they did a two family with 3.5% down and 6.5% closing costs.
Okay, so back to purchasing the what do you say?
Co-op of the
The,
house.
the, so you say it would be good to start off with the co-op first, just to build
Well,
your.
it depends on your situation. I evaluate everybody separately. If you have $50,000 and you're making 80, 85,000, and you desire a two family, then I would look at getting you a two family. I'm going to say something that a lot of people don't know, and I've never heard anybody say it but me. And that is, when you get a two family, you actually have someone else going out working. So let's hypothetically, you make, just because it's an easy number, $40,000 a year. You don't bring home 40,000. You bring home 30,000 after taxes, right?
Right.
Then you out there 40 hours. You spend an hour each direction trying to get there. But then if you have a tenant, the tenant is coming and saying, knocking on your door, and just like I just said, a one bedroom now is rated at $2,000. So $2,000 based on the current interest rate will pay you, a tenant paying you $2,000 a month will be paying about $400,000 of your mortgage.
You know what I like about Mount Vernon in the Bronx?
Two family.
I'm gonna tell you what I like about Mount Vernon. Shout outs to you, Tommy Thompson, Ariel. This is what I like about Mount Vernon in the Bronx. You see, Mount Vernon in the Bronx, which a lot of people don't know, and I've experienced this myself too. You see, Mount Vernon, if you don't pay that rent within 3 months,
Ooh,
you're gone.
peace,
You're gone.
peace.
You see, in the Bronx, you could hang out,
Ooh,
you could
year and a
smoke
half.
some weed, you could do whatever you want to
Yo,
do.
it's a night. It's not just the Bronx. It's the five boroughs. They treat you like that in Staten Island, Long Island, Brooklyn, Queens, and the Bronx. And
Now,
this is the thing.
Mount Vernon
I'm
is,
glad.
but Mount Vernon is quick with it though.
Well, Mount Vernon is quick because Mount Vernon is Westchester. And let me explain to you why. I had people come to me with a pre-approval for 600,000. And I said, "Well, you approved in the Bronx or Mount Vernon?" "Well, why you need to know?" "Because of the taxes." So if you
Yeah,
were
yeah,
approved in the Bronx and the taxes are 4,000,
yeah.
and the bank is saying, "We want you to only spend $3,500 a month." And out of that $3,500, if you only spending In the Bronx, you're only spending, 325 on taxes. Then you come to Mount Vernon, you can't afford a $600,000 house.
Mm-mm.
You get a
Mount,
house for 450, and this is why. And people don't understand this. In the Bronx, the city is not getting any taxes for you, so they do not protect the landlord. The landlord's paying those taxes.
yeah,
In Mount Vernon, or excuse me, in Westchester, when you pay the taxes, we're paying 1820. So that the court system, the judicial system, is being upheld by the landowners or the taxpayers of the property. So they don't play those reindeer days. People are like, oh yeah, with the taxes, I get a bit more house. To your point, people are in the house between a year and I'm sorry, it's 9 months to 14 to 15 months unpaid rent in the Bronx. You can't make 12 weeks in Mount Vernon with that same thing.
that
So we
shit
are
is not gonna
protected.
fly.
We are
Yeah, that
protected.
I've witnessed that before.
Oh
I
yeah.
had I had beef with the landlord, and this nigga wasn't fixing the roof. There was no heat, and I was like, you know what? I'm not paying. Why did I do that? Within 3 weeks, this nigga
You
had
in
the
court.
eviction. Yeah, he had the eviction notice on my shit ready to. I was like, I would never go through that. I said he
No.
ain't fixing it. I'm paying it. It's snowing inside of the place. I'm still paying until we get past it. They don't play that shit.
No,
They
no.
don't have.
And there's a lot of people are shocked coming out of the Bronx, not knowing because I mean Mount Vernon and Bronx touch. They don't understand. And I've seen people like, wait a minute, why is my stuff on the sidewalk? I'm like,
Yeah,
you
and
straight out.
yeah,
And they're like,
and
nah, that's impossible. I'm like,
right,
yeah, it's possible.
yeah, and the taxes here, the taxes in Mount Vernon is 20 bands
Yeah, yeah,
alone.
yeah. But how much are you losing if the tenant don't pay? And then
A
let
lot.
me explain something to you also. If you look at the Bronx, the smallest lot is 20 to 80 feet. You can build a house on a 20 by 80. So 2 times 8 is 1,600 square feet. You can build on that lot. And because it can be semi attached. In Mount Vernon, it's 50 by 100. So
Yeah,
proportionately, you're paying for a smaller house, a smaller lot. If two lots in the Bronx will make one lot in Mount Vernon, you understand? And then we are protected differently. We have more room. We don't have as much, people and stuff. So it makes a difference because also in Mount Vernon we also get a better tax. I'm sorry, better income from the tenant. So a $500,000 house, you could be paying, you know, 2 grand for the house. Taxes are let's say let's say crazy. Let's say they 24,000. You paying another two for that. So that's 4,000 you're paying for the home. But then you get a tenant, 3 bedroom tenant, you paying they're $2,500. So you're paying $1,500 to own the house. But when you go to the IRS, what happens? You get a tax
tax
credit
break. Yeah,
for paying your taxes, that 20 grand. You get a tax credit for paying the heat, hot water, the landlord, some stuff. You get a tax credit for paying a mortgage, and you get the STAR pro. Do you know what the STAR program? Have you ever heard of that?
no, that's new to me.
STAR.
What's that?
Okay. You know how when they come on TV, they go New York State Lotto,
Yeah,
New York State. You are voluntarily, if you read the back of your lotto ticket, you are voluntarily paying more taxes on the presumption that you may get more money than you put out. So the lotto is a taxation system, but they don't put that in big letters. They put it in little letters in the back. And when you
nobody ain't
lose
gonna read it.
money, yeah, when you lose money, those taxes go directly to the school taxes. That's what they start from. It's school tax relief. They put an A in it that make it worse because nobody would remember STR. So they made it star. So when people lose money, homeowners benefit from it. So we end up getting proceeds from the lotto system.
Right.
Also, in regards to credit, you said something that I just remember I didn't answer completely. You can buy a house, the FHA will let you buy a house with 580, 600 credit. All right. To get in the co-op, they're setting this trend of 700 to 750 credit. So the FHA will give you a loan with only 580, I think it's the credit is now. So it makes it very more achievable.
The house,
And
right?
yes, and if I'm going to get some information in regards to down payment assistance and closing, but you have to understand the owner of the home, especially now when we have 15 and 20 people asking to buy a house and the first 3 days is listed. The homeowner doesn't want to stand around and wait for proceeds to go through a government service, unfortunately. So they'll sometimes say, look, I got 15 people. Three of y'all need assistance. Let me talk to the 12 people who got their money right now. The money in their hand. It's like, show me the money.
Right.
So when we can, and I have done plenty of those programs, but when you're in a seller's market, it's harder to get that deal, to get that down payment assistance program. And sometimes that money just doesn't dissipate into the air. Sometimes if they give you, let's say they give you 25,000 and you buy a $500,000 mortgage, they put it on the tail end of the 30-year mortgage so you can pay it back.
Damon said he would like to talk to you.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Damien. I'm here for you.
If you have a question, just ask it, and I'll have her answer it. How did the 2008 crash did that affected you?
Yeah, that we were going high, and the proverbial balloon burst. So, um, how it affected me at the time, I had 37 people working for me in a real estate firm in Fleetwood on Gramerton. We was on the corner of Broad and Gramerton Avenue, across from what is now Bank of America. It used to be HSBC on the other corner. But long short, when it crashed, the reason people don't understand it crashed is that people were doing forced mortgages. People were learned how the upper 1% figured out how to steal. And basically, they were giving mortgage to anybody that had a heartbeat. And when those mortgages started to fail, they started to fail on Wall Street. So when you see those guys in day trading on Wall Street and they're holding up those little pieces of paper and yelling and screaming, when you buy a house, let's say for 200,000, by the time you finish, 30 years, you paid off the house 2.5 times. So yeah, your mortgage says you owe us 200. But if you look all the way at all of the paperwork, you're buying $500,000. You have to pay back. You borrowed 200, you're paying back a half a million, right? So now you got those pieces of paper. Those pieces of paper they're yelling and screaming at in Wall Street can be 10,000 houses on one piece of paper where they group together as an investment. So the guy's like, look, all of these houses worth, let's say, $10 million that they paid. But if I wait 30 years on them, they're not worth 10,000. They're worth 25 million. You
Mm.
understand? So maybe you remember those commercials, JG Wentworth, this is my money, I want it now.
Yeah.
It's the reverse of that. They're saying we're willing to wait 30 years for it to be 25 million, even though the face value of it is 10 million. So when it crashed, it's because people could not pay their mortgages. So now Wall Street is like, we're not buying those. So when the the house market crashed, it caused a ripple effect. But every house that is that is sold, this says it creates like 37 to 40 jobs for every house that's sold. So when every house is lost, then people start losing their jobs. You got people that have to supply Con Edison to the house. They have to police that house. People buying food from that house. They're paying an electric bill. They're going to Home Depot. They're going to church. So every time a house is bought or sold or lost, it's plus or minus about 40 people lose their jobs. So when the housing market, people started going to foreclosure, boom, everything crashed. So we went from our office sounding like a switchboard operator was at the front where the phones weren't ringing for days. So I was able to maintain everything I own because I'm conservative. I made sure I had a backup plan. So in life, you should have a plan, a backup plan, and a contingency plan. So
Right.
my backup plan was I had tenants. Remember I talked about that? So my tenants were paying, I say 70% of my mortgage. So I had a $5,000 mortgage, so I'm only paying $1,500, and then I had some reserve. And then there was still, I switched from selling house to renting because there was nothing else to do. A lot
Do
of
you,
people was like, let me go get a job.
all
So
right. What's going on right now? Well, America is on the brink to go to war, probably. You think we're heading back in that direction again for another housing market crash again?
what's pushing the housing market uptick right now is very unique because this is the first time hundreds of million people were told, go home and work from home. People no longer needed to be within 45 minutes to an hour of their jobs. So that being said, um, was it New York, not the New York Times, yeah, the New York Times building. They told everybody in that building, go home. And they emptied the building. They let everybody work home from home for a year. McDonald's, what's it? The donut shop, Dunkin' Donuts closed. Street vendors what couldn't feed, and they told those people to go home. And then they said, we're going to figure out. And they realized that people were working just as hard, if not better, from home as they were doing from an office space. Now you have big businesses saying, wait a minute, I don't have to pay a quarter of a
Rent.
million dollars for rent.
Mm-hmm. Save a lot
So
of money,
they're saving tons of money. Meanwhile,
millions of
the
dollars
real
too.
estate market, yeah, the owners in the city have been pushing the numbers, pushing the numbers, pushing the numbers, and all of a sudden they weren't needed, they weren't important. So what happened with the real estate market, and it just didn't affect Westchester. This thing, I had people moving and saying, I'm going to Fort Lauderdale. I don't ever have to go back into an office. I can do everything on Zoom. I had people that were moving to Jersey, moving to Pennsylvania, who work in and still work for a company New York based. So that's what's pushing this current market. That
Sidebar.
people real
A sidebar. Where did Zillow go wrong? Ariel asked.
in regards to what?
The market, I guess, would definitely have to be. Where did Zillow go wrong?
Zillow made Zillow can't keep up. Okay, I have an MLS. Right now, if something happens, I have something I get within 20 seconds that the market was going. Something just came on the market, something went off the market, something with some contract was signed. Zillow couldn't keep up with that. And also, Zillow got greedy, in my opinion, is that Zillow got greedy. They started off as a advertising forum for the realtors, and they would sell advertising spots. Then Zillow wanted to become bankers, and then they want to become real estate agents. So you're wearing two hats. What do I believe from you, Zillow? Because now you're advertising my stuff and you're my competitor. You
Mm.
understand? And then the other issue with Zillow is that Zillow, Redfin, um, there's another one. It'll come to me. They all use listing as a currency. Oh, we have a realtor.com, property shark. Oh, we have X amount of houses for sale on our site. But then the houses would come off. I had one guy call me yelling and cursing at me. And then a letter came from his attorney saying people were still coming past his house. He done purchased the house, lived in the house, and he got strange people walking around his house trying to look into the windows thinking the house is still available. It's not available. I said, well, I don't own Zillow. What am I supposed to do? I'm a realtor. I put the information, I forwarded you that I put it in the system that the house is sold. But Zillow, they don't want to put the house is sold right away because they got people there clicking. And as you clicking, you just giving their information. You giving up your information. They're selling your information. So there is nothing that's motivating Zillow to take it off. They took it off eventually. We talking about 5, 6 months later. It became a big thing. Like, am I really going to have to pay an attorney to get these people off of me? I've done everything I can. I said, call Zillow. I didn't call Zillow and was like, yo, Zillow, I'm paying you. Zillow took it. I gave them permission, free advertisement. They don't want to unadvertise it. But the biggest thing with Zillow is that they became too greedy. They seen the market was beautiful. They got involved with it. They bought up a whole bunch of real estate. Yeah. Woo. And then it dropped. That part, because see now, at me, even though I watched the market, I really didn't notice when they said you have to agree with the terms. Like, when they got, this guy that owned Facebook, they said, "Do you think people read that?" And he's like, "No." He said, "Do you think the average person can understand what you wrote?" No. But Zillow put it in there. I see the word FREE. We all do it. It's free. It's free. It's the best word in the world.
Yeah,
But
the
they're
no,
sitting there using our information and
yeah,
they went out and they bought a ton of stuff and they didn't know what they were doing.
the,
And then when the market switched, they were left holding all this real estate that wasn't valued at what they thought it was valued at because they didn't know what they were doing.
so do you think we're going back in the depression back again with everything that's going on,
Well, I tell you what,
or a
the
housing market crash?
I can't see the market crashing the way it did in 2008 because in 2008 it was basically a scam going on. They never
Right.
want to use that word, but there was a Ponzi scheme. That's what was happening. But not on me and your level. It was happening on the banking level. The banks did this. Chase did it. Countrywide was the biggest one. And they found him guilty. They knew who did it and he never served a day. He paid a fine. He never, but let's say he made $1 billion. Then they fined him a quarter of a million. So what? And then you know what they did to him? They made him the ambassador. Look it up. They made him the ambassador to the Bahamas. They
I
gave him
could
a job. Bush
I
gave
could
him a job.
I could have took those charges. Those
Right.
that would have looked good on me.
I'm saying, and plus you get to keep all the money. You kept all the money, you paid a fine, and then they put him on the payroll.
That,
Countrywide, look it up.
that guy's white, right?
Come on, bro. Don't do that. Oh my God. No, you did, man. We don't get away with that. Just like we wasn't climbing the walls in January last year either, man. They would have swatted us like flies. They caught us on that wall, man. Come on, man. He's
Oh,
white. So
uh,
yeah.
so
But the other thing I want to say is that I have we're on a podcast. Me and one of my friends partner a podcast to help you with credit issues. If you get in trouble with your home, if whatever money um things, and it's called Currency, which currency is money for
mhm.
currency, how we see things. And it's available. You can Google it. It's on Spotify, Apple, Amazon Music, it's out there. So we are out there and trying to get the word out there and really seriously trying to help somebody. I'm not going to say I don't want to make no money. So, because people say, oh, it's not about the money. Uh, yeah, no, I'm not. Yeah, I am about the money,
It's
but
about the money.
it is about the money. But what if I told you, if I walked up to you and I said, I can make you a millionaire in 20 to 12 years? I don't deserve to get paid. I'm not running scams. And I've done that for a lot of people. You know what? And I hope they don't get upset, but Mrs. and the brand new, they're not even married, I think a month. Mr. and Mr. Jenkins closed today on a property, 25 years old. They're full. They went through high school, college. One of Concordia, the other one in Iona, full scholarships. Met in college. Um, they understood the assignment. Basically, they own a two bedroom co-op as of today. 3 o'clock. We went to closing. 2 bedroom and an amazing community, a condo building. The building's beautiful. The place is, it looks like out of a magazine. These people are 25 years old. And to your point, and I want to say this, is I have said to people, come up out of the projects, they were making a lot of money. And I had someone I never forget. She turned around and she said, "What's wrong with living in projects?" And I'm stuck there like red light, green light. And I'm going to say this, I am American and I don't want people jumping on me. She was American. And she said, my mother and my grandmother. And she was right. She lived in the projects in Brooklyn on so and so street. A parent, her grandmother, and her mother lived in the project currently. So she was third generation. And the
Yeah,
project, so you understand the model, it's called a project because it was supposed to be a hand up. And
right.
people have turned it into a hand out.
Yeah, but
You want to see the latest clothes?
yeah,
You
when
want
you
to see the best cars? Go to the
yeah
projects.
when you're there is basically you're passing on poverty and more
Right.
poverty
Right.
and more poverty. If you don't have a
Plan.
if you don't have a plan in place,
Yeah.
what they say, poor preparation prepare for a failure or something like that. I gotta look it up. But anyway, um, Ariel said, "Do you think this Zillow will get back to their former glory?" And what is it? Do you think Zillow will get back to their former glory and good for investment
I wouldn't, I mean, they made some mistakes and sometimes you have to fall down,
to
you
get back up?
know, to get back up. I don't know their investment, who's investing and who's backing Zillow currently. So, I had to fall down sometime. And I started being a little more conservative because you get out there and everything, just like your budget, it works on paper. But sometimes you get out there and you like, okay, where's the money? I don't have the $700 extra I thought every month. You learn from your mistakes, and hopefully Zillow have. I can't say, but if they've lost a lot of money, they lost a lot of money. So I don't know what chapter they're gonna do, how they're gonna if they had enough reserve. So I don't know, but I think everybody has a chance to do it again. School is not always about sitting in a class. Sometimes school is life is school, you know, and they've been, school was in, and hopefully they learned their lesson.
Mm.
The question is, to the lady that was questioning, will they be back to their former glory?
Oh, that's
The
my. It's
question.
a guy. It's a guy.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize for that. I would say, where are you in life, and how do you get to where you want to be from there? I'm sure we all got the student credit cards and we made some mistakes, during life. You have to learn from those mistakes. If you don't learn from those mistakes, then you're not adulting, let's call it. You can't be the same place in your 20s, in your 30s, in your 40s. We have a thing as Americans, we said man boy. So you got this guy 40, 50 years old, he's still running around acting like a kid. When does it come? Let me stop giving my money away to someone else. When does that happen?
I I have another question for you.
Yeah.
So you mentioned something that Zillow had the your information and they're selling it. Do you think that's good that all these companies save your information and selling it to other entities for their gains?
Well, that's just capitalism. And that's one of the things Zuckerberg was on trial for because people didn't understand how Facebook worked.
Yeah, we
So
know
you start using
he's
certain
still
words
doing that.
and
He's
yeah, and
still
you
doing
click
that.
right, you clicking on stuff. They're sitting there watching you. Funny, I was talking to someone in my own home and I have a high-end Nikon camera and I was like, man, I need to see how much it's going to be Nikon. Is somebody around me going to fix it or do I have to go to the spot in Long Island? The next day, here come all of these Nikon places. I
Yeah,
didn't click on any. I was
the,
like, wait a minute.
the
And it
government
was
is listening.
Zuckerberg. He said he has the option to do what he wants with your information. So he's sitting there selling information to political parties. And then they're funneling, these political parties are funneling information towards you, and they're putting in, what they call these dummy people that have conversations with you. They're telling people what people are talking about in their conversations. So, in giving into Facebook and saying, "Yeah, I check up off of this," that's why he ended up in front of Congress.
Yeah, but he's still doing it.
Oh yeah, because we checked on it. He scaled it back. He scaled some stuff back. But if you want to know the ruler of the world, he is the ruler of the world. People don't like that, but that's true. We give this guy our stuff. We let him into our homes. They listen to our conversation. You're driving down the street, and all of a sudden, it says, "Oh, you're near McDonald's. You want to go?"
Or is there McDonald's close by in your
Right.
area? Hit
That's
yes
it.
or no. It's
Right.
true.
Right.
It's
So
true.
they're
Yeah.
using us to funnel their own stuff, and it's just a interesting. We give up our rights, even this, which is a far stretch, but understand what I'm saying. You know that DNA thing, and they said, "Oh, family DNA, you can get it for $99 now."
Yeah.
That's owned by the government.
Yes.
So you say yes, but how far does that go? I sign off my rights, but that means everybody in my family's DNA is in there. They know how to find me back. They're going to know if something happened, I just signed the rights, my rights, but everybody in my family's rights away. That's why if you do, if you want to find out if a child is yours, that test is $1,100, but they're doing the test for $99.
I know. Well,
Because if
listen.
they gave it to you for free, you would be suspicious. So they're putting all this information into the database, and then there's a crime. Then they say, "Oh, we can't really use it for finding if someone," but they're using it.
Yeah,
They're like,
but
"Listen, we can't find the guy who did it, but his sister. This is his sister right here."
they've been known to gather one thing white people is notorious for doing, and this is no shade to them. This is
No,
fact. They always gathering information.
yes.
Always.
What's the
If
census? What is the census?
oh man, let's not even
Come
talk about
on,
that.
come
Let's not even
on.
talk about that.
You do feasibility, and this is what they do. They say how many black people, how many white people, how much the crime, where's
Yeah,
everybody at, and then you start seeing McDonald's pop up, Burger King, and in certain neighborhoods, it's Starbucks. It's Starbucks. It's regentrification coming and
yeah,
stuff. We got liquor stores and Chinese stores
right.
and
They put
check cashers, and
right.
you can't find a bank, but there's a check casher that after you work, you pay somebody to give you your money out of your own check, but they don't want to give us a bank account. So, and I'm
Yeah.
not a conspiracy theorist at all. I mean, I'm
No,
just
these
saying, look, you
these
got to
are
open your eyes.
these are all things. They ever saying that they said if the hood was so poor, if it was so poor, right? Why are there so many Haitian, Arabs, white, Latinos, Jews? Why are they opening up all these business here? We're not poor. We're just poor with our spending
Right,
habits.
we're consumers. And let me
Right.
say this to you. About 15, 20 years ago, they did a family of four based on 40,000, I think, or 50,000. I think it was 40,000. It was about 20 years ago, 15 years ago. And they said, same family, two kids, two parents, same $40,000. The chances of the black family having a new car was about 85%, and no computer. There's only maybe 20% chance they had a laptop or computer in the house. And they took the same family that was white, and it says they're more likely to be driving an old car, have a mortgage, and 85% chance that they had a computer in the house. It's not that we don't have the money. Again, we go back to the Louis Vuitton and the Chanel, and you have bad credit.
Yeah, it's what I think a lot of us is lacking is literacy and financial literacy.
There
And
we go.
they don't teach that in our schools, and until they
Yes.
start putting those things into place into school, they then we're always going to be the way we are.
Well, they're
It's
not going to do that no more than they're going to do
no, of
critical
course
race
not.
theory,
No.
because that's too much power. What are you
No,
talking about?
why
It has
would
to
they
be.
want that?
No, because they don't want an even playing field.
No.
So the thing is where does it have to be taught? Where did a lot of white people learn it from? They learned it from their parents. The thing
Right.
is, you go back 3 generations in us, we were slaves.
A fact. And we're
We
like
didn't have control over money.
but
Okay.
the new slaves that we are now is mentally. That's
Well,
that's that's where
yeah,
we at
yeah,
now.
and that's the bigger enslavement. And I'm going to say this: when I talk about, and I have Louis Vuitton, so don't get me wrong, but I can afford Louis Vuitton. You, there's this book by Sister Soldier. I read it. Oh my God, it must have been 25 years ago. But it said, "Are you still a slave?" So if you look at how the slave system was set up, you had the master
Hmm.
and his family living in a big house, and you had 100 people working for him. Everybody under that same name. If you go to a job, okay, let me finish that thought. They gave you somewhere to live, they gave you clothes to wear, and food to eat, right? If you go to a job and then you don't have money saved up after the end of the day, you're still in it, but you decided who your slave master is going to be. You
Right.
working for Procter and Gamble, you working for um Verizon, you working for the supermarket,
Right.
whatever you working for.
I said that there's four ways your life could turn out living in this world. You can be in the system where the government takes care. You live in a shelter and he pays for everything for you and you ain't got to do shit.
Right.
You could go to work and you could do a 9 to 5 and you come home and you sit on the couch and you watch TV and say, "Oh, I'm good." Or you could be an independent contractor and somebody signs your paycheck. Or you could be a fucking boss. Those four.
Yeah. You need to be a
And
boss.
you have to walk one of these. It's either
Right.
the government
Right.
gonna do it for you,
Right.
or and this is just something that I sat down one day and I was like,
See, you get it. You
hmm,
get it. For you to get to that point, I spend 80% of my energy trying to get the people to the point where you're at now. Buying the house is the easy part. But to get somebody mentally, you said slavery is a mentality.
yeah,
That's
but
why some people say, "Oh, the slaves want to be there because there was only 5 white people on the land, but there was 100 white black people. Why didn't they overtake this guy? Because it's a mentality.
right
Why would you go to work? You have a bunch of credit cards. You
because
make $50,000. You
because
can't
this
afford stuff. You buy stuff you can't. So now you're a slave to Gucci.
right,
You're a slave
but
to Louis
you,
Vuitton.
you
You're a
see
slave to your car.
you see Kanye West said it best, and everybody got upset.
Oh, I know what he meant. He's crazy. I know what you're gonna
Slavery
say.
was a
It's
choice
an
because
option.
yeah, you made it once you made the decision to be like, yo, I'm okay with this, you're already a slave. But if you
Right.
decide to say, yo, I don't want no parts of this right here, we got to
Right.
get our shit together. I
Right.
you know I was saying this to myself. I said, do you know, if you're supposed to go on the block, right, and you're supposed to hustle and you're supposed to sell all of this weed and all this other extra shit, right? Cool. But if all of y'all gather together, do you know you guys could control the dynamics of the market?
Again, mentality. They separate us for different reasons. You see what I'm saying? If we would unite, we will be a force. So
But
first they start, you want to know the first issue? The miseducation of the black American youth.
the European way of thinking.
Right,
Go to school, get a job,
right.
and that's it.
And they
It,
don't
it,
teach black history.
it
They
no,
teach us they teach us that the cowboys and Indians, the Indians were the bad guy.
right.
We
And
we we looking at TV and rooting against ourselves.
right. Basically everything we were taught is
It's
wrong.
wrong. Wrong. You want to see American history? Read a book called A Matter of Color. They're sitting there saying, "Oh yeah, so We can show you all these places where white women having black kids or black women having white people's kids when they were born they would put the church would enslave them. That's who you went for like when they got in front of Caesar, the church would enslave these people for doing it. But there was a shortage of women, and they knew that men were out there raping. They couldn't find where any white man was charged for rape, even though they knew women were being raped. So it's American history from a French perspective, like the Boston Tea Party. It was a renege on a loan. It was supposed to pay the taxes, supposed to pay for the voyage of the Mina, the Sina, and Santa Maria boats. You get over here, you knew you said you owe the money. So they put the money on what? The tea, because they drink up tea every day. Then they was like, well, by the time you're going to get over here from the voyage, you're going to be tired. So we're going to dump the tea because we're not paying the taxes to the queen. And they liberated. But really, the Boston, that's like you having a bad credit score with Experian. They got a 510 credit score. You know, so it's just interesting when what the stuff that we are taught, like the word picnic. That's not a nice word. That's when they used to go to town and they would lay their food out on a blanket because they were going to go pick, excuse my word, the N word. They were going to
Right.
go buy a slave. So the word picnic came from when, white people would go out and spread a sheet and run around and play frisbee and eat and barbecue on their day to go buy another slave at the market. There's so many things that we hear and we don't know where it comes from, it originate from.
The fact. I think one thing we need to do in order for us to break this cycle, we need to educate our kids, and we have to start pretty much
Yes.
in the household.
In the house.
You know what I'm
In the
saying?
house.
I
Yes,
mean,
in the house.
everybody got their own thing they want to do. Some people want to be an astronaut. Some people want to be a garbage man. Some people want to be a rapper. Some people
Right.
want to be a singer. But we
Yes.
got to educate our kids first, and stop making all of these unwanted child and stop having unprotected sex so these
Right.
kids could be running around all wild. But we got to educate our kids and teach them
Right.
how to be homeowners, because all these things, all these stuff that people pass on that we don't own, you see people like fighting over the block. I'm like, how you fighting over the block and you don't even own it?
No. Again, mentality. And to your point, you gotta live somewhere anyway.
A fact.
I'm not selling you something that you don't need. You can take the bus. I'm not trying to sell you a car. I'm not
A f-
trying to sell you some hot shoes. I'm not trying to sell you a tree with cherries on it. I'm
yeah.
selling you something that you already need.
But most of the times, half of the things we buy has no value. A
Well, it's
phone,
called it's a declining. It's not even an asset. An asset is something you buy the home and it increases in value. You buying
gotcha.
a car, everything else is going to drop in value. So
A
that's why I
fact.
said a lot of people can't afford. You have bad credit, you don't own anything. You buy a $5,000 bag, $4,000 bag. Before you get it out of the store, it's worth less money. You're working to drop the value, your own value out there, killing yourself for 40 hours, 60 hours a week, whatever you're working, and then your money is going downhill like this.
A
But you
fact.
feel good.
Yeah.
It's a temporary.
But Kanye West said it again. We might buy a lot of clothes, but we don't really need them.
That's it. And then what did he do? He went out there and he started a line of clothing. And he started, do you know, I think his sneakers sold for the rare sneakers sold for 1 point something $1 million last week.
Put them in a boxing day dry rot.
Yeah.
On
Yeah.
on that note, is there anything you would like to leave with us before we close? Because I'm definitely going to be following up with you, and I got to give you the number for the guy for the Three Kings shirt, and I give this guy Damian Brown your contact, so he'll make contact with you, and maybe you could guide him on his journey in
Definitely.
making a
I'll
purchase.
also give you my podcast information. I'll text it over to you so you can share it.
Okay.
what I would say to people is that there's a book called The Richest Man in Babylon.
I heard of
It's
that.
one of the most interesting reads. It's very thin. I probably have one on my shelf. It's about that thin, not even an inch. Best one of the best reads, and I constantly read it over and over because it teaches you. You have a relationship with your kids, your wife, your mother, your people at work, your best friend. But what is your relationship with money? When's the last time you paid yourself? You pay your landlord, you pay the
Yeah,
automaker, you pay the farmer, you pay the shoemaker, you pay the clothing maker. The first person that's supposed to get paid is you.
that's a fact. I heard that before. I never
Right,
understood it before, but I
right.
understand. That's why sometimes I always treat myself. I'm like, yo, fuck it. Let me just go eat some shrimp for no reason. Let me
Yes.
just go eat some shrimp for no
That's it.
reason.
You pay, but you pay everybody. But
Yeah,
you saving money, so you're paying yourself.
yeah,
Because the difference from what you make to what you have to spend, that's your numerical value. And all I'm saying to you, I'm not trying to sell you something you don't. For every, let's say, $400 you spend with your landlord, you're paying a mortgage. Let me tell you that. No matter who you are,
yeah.
I don't care you don't own a house, you are paying a mortgage. The question
Yes,
is, are you paying a mortgage, your own mortgage, or are you making a landlord rich?
yeah.
So for every 400, I want everybody to hear this. You take and divide your mortgage by 400, and then you'll find out how much of a mortgage you're paying off for that landlord in a 30-year time. So hypothetically, if you're paying a $2,000 mortgage and you divide it in 40 into 2000, it's 50, you're paying a $500,000 mortgage for these person.
A fact.
All I'm trying to do, I'm not trying to wheel and deal you. I just want you to keep your money. I want you to value you. I want when you to go to work that money is like a little seed and it grows into a big tree. I don't want you
Yeah,
to sit there. I come around the corner. There's a whole bunch of sunflower seed shells on the ground. And I'm like, well, what happened to your forest? You said, oh, I ate that. You could have an orchard if you want an orchard, or you can have a bag of sunflower seeds. It's all in perspective.
yes.
And I want to
It
say this. This is my thing. Every year, me and my son come up with something else that we're going to do and we're going to concentrate on. And this year is, love more. We've been through a lot, depression, death all around us. We made it through.
still here.
You have everything to be depressed about, and there's going to be depression. But if you could just love more and treat someone, one or two people, just that more kind for no other reason, makes the world a better. You'll feel better. They'll feel better. But I want you
Yeah.
guys really, if you use me or not, you never hear my name. I hope I've at least made you think that if nothing else, you deserve more than what you're doing for yourself right now. If you do not own a home, if you are not saving money.
Yes. In addition to that, please do like, share, and subscribe. And where can we find you?
I'm currency for currency. I'll give you the information. I'm also on Greater Metro Realty Group, um, detail oriented contractors,
Right.
and then I'll give you all my contact information. My email is just call Monique at AOL.com.
Okay. Well, it was nice chatting with you, Monique.
I
I'll
appreciate you, sir.
definitely be following up with you. And I have a couple of things I need to learn from you also.
10 years
So
from now, you'll be a multi. You have millions, over a million in
I'm
property.
I'm working on it. I'm working
Yeah,
on it.
definitely. That's all it takes. You're 90% there if you're working on it.
Yes, no doubt. And I always tell people that hustle on the block, make sure you got insurance because you never know.
We can spend 10 years on that. Let me just say one thing. People have insurance on their phones. You know that, right?
Yes. Yo, you see the dynamics? Things that ain't got no value.
And you don't have life insurance?
Yeah,
Come on, man. Come
yo,
on.
I gotta talk on that. Yo, anyway, thanks again, Monique, and I'm gonna
All
stay in
right.
touch. All right,
I appreciate you. Thanks for your time. Good night, everybody. Good luck.
thank you, Monique.
All right.